Okay.
Yes. Hello there. Today we have with us Larry Michael. Larry is a relationship expert. He's also known as the Love Shepherd, the founder of Genetic Energetics, a program designed to help people understand their energetic frequencies and connect with others efficiently. Welcome, Larry. It's such a
Hi.
pleasure to have you.
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thank you.
I
Appreciate it a
am
lot.
so excited. You are such a source of wisdom and experience in this area of love and relationships and all this good stuff that we love to talk about. So I know you're writing a book right now. So, and I have a burning question for you. Let's jump right in it. Is it true that opposites attract?
What do you think?
I think it is and it isn't a little bit. I
That's
think,
actually the perfect answer.
oh, good,
So,
take the stage.
so there is attractions, which also is known very much so as chemistry, right?
Right.
Chemistry is a really playful little game that our bodies do with us. Chemistry is made up of brain chemicals, six of them. And when they're all elevated, when they're activated, then we literally look more like this.
Ah,
Okay. So this is what happens. It's like the chemistry comes in and it's like, oh my God. Oh, oh, I can feel her. Oh my God. I can't. No, I have to put these back on. I just need to want to see her or be with her. And it doesn't matter, you know, make me a female and say BM or CM. So that's chemistry. Brain chemicals come in and they hijack our mind and our bodies, right? Now, the reality, though, about chemistry and brain chemicals is that it's not about whether opposites attract. We are attracted to the person that has the same energetic frequency as our opposite gender parent. Okay.
say
So,
that again, please.
I'll just make it real. Chemistry is going to show up for me when I'm around someone that has the same energetics as my biological mother. And now there's people listening there and go, I didn't like my mom, or I didn't like my dad, or I didn't even know them. It doesn't matter. It's a genetic coding, right? And half of the population has what we call true attractions, and half have what we call false attractions. So if you have false attractions, there's a good chance you're going to get yourself into a relationship that is with someone that very much is your opposite in many ways,
Mm.
especially in how we communicate. So, right on the surface, the most important thing that we need to be able to do is communicate with each other, right? And it might start out at the beginning great, and then after a while, there's this like all these misunderstandings and challenges, and we don't know better because we don't know why it's happening, and then we come up with all kinds of crazy beliefs, and those turn into resentment, and shame, and blame, and guilt, and all that kind of crap, right? So, but it seems like what how could you be so different from me and I love you so much or I care for you so much? Chemistry fuels that fire. And so when you said yes and no, you're exactly right. For half the population, it's yes. It's
Oh,
like we're attracted to someone who's very different than us. And for the other half, we're attracted to someone who's very similar to us.
right.
So opposites attract. There's all the theories that, it's a genetic thing and we need an opposite and all that. There's no proof to any of that, but there is proof. There's been scientific evidence done now about energetics and chemistry. And so we know that. Now, I'm always a little reluctant in quoting science because science is always changing, right? There's always new and better information all the time. And I'm sure there'll be more information about even the studies that were done on our company. But the one thing we did learn that the biggest progenitor, if you will, of that whole idea that opposites attract is that half of our population really gets excited by someone who is different instead of the same.
Right.
And that excitement is brain chemicals, right?
Okay, so my next question for you would be, so if it's chemical, that doesn't have anything to do with how compatible we are or how much our values align. So what do we do there? How do we know if it's real, if this is the right guy or not? If let's
So,
say our bodies, if we get the like Bugs Bunny,
yeah.
the
So if you've got these on, right? If you
right,
got did
those
you
are
say
the ones.
Bugs Bunny? You did say Bugs Bunny, didn't you?
Yeah.
I
Do
don't
you
know who
remember
this
the
is.
cartoon when he's
Yes,
the
yes, I do. So if you've got these on and you're feeling that chemistry, which by the way feels amazing,
right?
it really does.
Oh,
It's
it
so
does.
wonderful,
Oh,
right? When you're feeling it, that's the time to really go, okay, slow down, ask some really good questions, take your time. Don't go move in with the person overnight. Take your time and get to know them.
right.
And while that chemistry is hitting you, and it will stay with you, it can stay with you for some time. It's an opportunity to really like go, okay, if I didn't have this chemistry, what would my decision be? Like, oh,
Mhm.
it might really bug me that he still smokes, right? And chemistry, by the way, is one of those things where you meet someone who's a smoker and you don't want to be around a smoker, you're certain of it. And but everything says this is right and I should do it. And there's lots of other things, by the way, that get us into relationships besides just chemistry. But that one piece is kind of a deal breaker. And
Right.
here you are, you're a year into it, and the person said they'd quit smoking, and there's still all this chemistry. You're a year and a half, they still say it, and they're not, right? It's
Right.
about time that you make a decision. So, one thing that happens with chemistry is that these brain chemicals all get elevated or they get moved around so they become so addictive. The one thing that causes them to plummet is pain.
Okay.
So when Helen Fisher years ago did her studies on chemistry, she said chemistry only lasts a couple of years. Based on the information she had at the time, that was accurate, but there's more better information that's shown up since. And what we really know is that chemistry stops when
Mm,
there's enough pain to cause the chemicals to dissipate.
right.
Now, you could be so high on this other person and get in a bicycle accident and break your arm, do something. Well, that pain sets off the neurotransmitters that cause the other chemicals, the neurotransmitters in our brain to plummet. And so these are literally chemical things happening in our brain.
Oh,
And when
wow. Wow.
pain comes in, physical pain comes in, chemistry is out the door, right?
Even if it's
Now,
totally unrelated. I thought when you said, sorry to interrupt you, but when you said pain, I thought that the pain of, him not quitting smoking, because as
same,
women, we feel so deeply that
yeah,
is painful. I thought that
there
was
is
like
that. So
pain.
same, but different kind of. So physical pain and emotional pain, both of them ignite the same neurotransmitters that cause chemistry to plummet, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, if you're in a situation and you're going, you should quit smoking, I hate it. I don't feel good. I don't like how my clothing smells. Everything about this is terrible. And I
Right.
care for this man so much. And it's just that crossover finally goes, enough, right?
Mm,
Enough.
mm,
Either you stop smoking or get out, right?
right.
It's like, I don't want to kill me. I don't even want to see you die, right? I want to
Right.
live a nice, long, healthy life. That's not getting us there. So
Right.
if you're really committed to me, you really want me, you will stop now, right?
Right.
Cold turkey. I don't care. Like, we're not waiting any longer. And you know what? If you have someone at that point that is so committed to you that does it and stays with it,
Right.
what a beautiful sign that is, right?
Right.
What a great way to show their level of a commitment.
Right. Now, that brings another question to me, and it's, what do you think, based on your experience and all your research, because that leads me to the idea of meeting somebody that is perfect, but he smokes. Let's keep using the smoking example.
Okay.
And so we get in the relationship because the chemistry is so high, but we know we don't like that. And then we try to change him.
Mm,
That's not what you are talking about.
no. If we get into a relationship wanting someone to be someone else other than they are,
Right.
we're that's a mistake.
Yeah.
It truly means that the person that's doing that, we're not even ready.
Right.
Like if you get into a relationship and you think that you're going to be able to change your man, you are not relationship material yourself, right? Because you're making someone else responsible for your happiness.
Thank you for saying that. That's a
And
hard
and
truth.
this is a critical piece.
Yeah.
We can do so much to contribute to each other's happiness, but be responsible for the other person's happiness. That is a relationship that will eventually fail.
Right.
They always do. Statistically, they do.
Right. And
Anything we go out to prove, Natalia, is like my signature statement is we have to stop looking for proof and instead allow ourselves to be surprised by the truth. Looking for proof is like, is this my one and only? Is this the person that fits my checklist of all the things I want? And
right.
if we go out there looking for that proof, what we end up doing is we create the proof that we want, but it's not real. It's a creation. It's a creation that we made or we induce someone else to do. We need to allow ourselves to be surprised by what's real.
Right.
And for that, we have to not look for proof, just be an inquiry, just curious, just truly curious, not to want to prove anything. Take all the labels, take all those things that can get in the way of really seeing someone, trash them, just get rid of them. All of them, attachment styles, all that stuff. Get
Right.
rid of all of them and spend time just getting to know the person.
Right. Yes.
And from there, that's where the real surprises come in. You go, oh my God, I never would have saw that at all. I would never would have noticed this about you at all had I been looking for what I thought I wanted. And what you just told me, I realized not only is it important to you, but I didn't even realize I wanted it. Right. And that kind of experience, that opportunity to have a knowing that comes from a conversation, that's true co-creation. That's serendipitous and that's blissful. And co-creation of that nature is what keeps any relationship alive for a long time.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Definitely. I think there is a lot of harm done nowadays with so much information about the love language, the attachment theory, this and that, and relationships are so nuanced. And but people that are just watching a 1 minute video, they will take it and run with it. Oh my God, he didn't bring me flowers. He's not the right person because I am a gift. I don't know the name, but you know,
Yeah,
I
my love language is
big
gifts, right? Yeah.
gifts. And
Um,
I'm like, well, it it's a little bit more nuanced than that. So thank you for saying that. Thank you so much. I heard once, I'm sure probably you have heard it too. There was, I can't remember the names to save my life, but it doesn't matter. There was an musician and an actress that got into, they weren't together romantically. They were on a plane and they had an accident. The plane went down. And because of that experience, that life or death experience, they fell in love. So, can you talk a little bit about that? Because there is a lot of talk about that in the dating, industry. How, to men, for example, I have heard that some coaches for men, they tell the men, take the girl to watch a scary movie because that will get her. Have you heard of that? All these
yes, I've heard of that.
manipulate
These
that.
are these are tricks and games, and
There is something.
I'm
There is
not going to say I'm not going to say that that they're all bunk because sometimes it works. But there's a belief that the greatest breakthroughs that we make are from crisis. Like
Right.
we have to have a massive crisis to actually learn something. And in a partnership, we have to go through these crises to get to the next level of our relationship. I'm sorry, that's not accurate. Does it, do crises have that kind of capacity? Can they help us go deeper? Sure, they can. Do we need them to have a phenomenal relationship? That's hogwash. That's absolutely made up crap, right? And what it is there's a tendency in this world right now to look at all the things that have happened and how they've gone wrong, and how do we fix that? How do we overcome the problem? Now, you go onto TikTok or Instagram right now and show interest in just even one person that says, hey, I know how to get you and your sweetheart back together. Within hours, you will see just a deluge of every person out there telling you that they can help you do that. And it's not to say that they can't be helpful, because I think all of these people really mean well and have great tools. But the real way to get into a relationship that will last is starting from a different foundation. We have jumped into relationships. We've let chemistry drive us in. We've come to conclusions. We have looked for someone wanting to find our perfect match, and we know exactly what they look like. And as soon as we've created that exact match, we go in and we're there. And then what happens? Eventually, we're now working at all the things that we didn't see or didn't pay attention to that now come up later. And some experts will call this the natural stage in relationships. The first part is chemistry. It gets you all excited and you go in. Your just attractions are high. And then the next part, the next stage, is it's all the crap, all the stuff you didn't see when you were busy jumping in that now you have to navigate, right? And this is the growth phase. This is, there's a lot of names for it. And some people have 3 stages, some have 5, some have 7. All these stages are simply describing what we've seen relationships do. That's not the way it needs to be. The book that we're introducing called Lasting, that's going to be coming out here in just weeks, turns that entire system on its head.
Oh, tell us more about it.
Well,
how?
I'm going to use an analogy for a second. Think about healthcare.
Okay.
We have Eastern medicine, we have Western medicine. Western medicine, you walk in, you cut your hand, you get stitched up. Perfect. It's really good for that, right? You have a headache, they give you a medication for your migraine or for your headache without taking a moment to figure out why you're having that migraine, right? Now, someone comes in, they get stitched up. You stitch them up. They go home. They're back next week, and they need stitches again. They stitch them up again. Never ask, how did that happen? Well, it could be that he's working with some tool, and he has no idea that, oh, by the way, my nerves are gone in that part of my arm. That's why that keeps happening there. Eastern medicine is going to look for the root cause, right? And it's going to address that. So nutrition. If nutritionally we're challenged, is anybody telling us to go in the grocery store and read the labels of the products that we're buying? Some are, but most are instead just sending us to all kinds of advertising that says buy your Cheerios or your whatever your cereal of desire is. And we're not looking at what's inside them. So if we begin in a relationship with a set of disciplines that give us the ability to really discover not just who we are, but who we are with our partner from the beginning, really get to know that person. So if we've made a commitment, we know if this is a really great commitment. There may be someone that shows up, someone's listening right now, and they go, I've just met someone and I think this is the one. And I want to find out. I'm totally committed to find out. And so are they. So this is the time to really go into a place of inquiry. The discipline of inquiry is one of the very first things that we talk about. And inquiry is being curious,
Right.
not to find proof, but to discover, right? To totally discover. So if you start with that, already you're way ahead of the game. Because most of us, by the way, we're born with a child's mind, and we are constantly looking for understanding and new information. We're seekers, but then we're conditioned to conclude and judge. So we're quick to conclude and judge, and we live in a very complex world. No question about it. So the quicker we can get to a place where we make a decision, the faster things can happen, the quicker things will go well for us, or we learn that not to go that direction. Everything is accelerated.
Right.
When it comes to our relationships, we need to slow down, ask questions, and listen to the answers. Sometimes the indication of whether someone's a good match for you isn't necessarily even the answer they give you. It's how the question is received and how the question is answered more than the answer itself.
Oh, that's
Right?
priceless.
Think
That's
about that. It's not so much the answer, that's the proof piece. It's how someone listens to the question, accepts the question, allows themselves to even go into their own space of wonderment and go, wow, I don't know.
right.
Like if I asked you, how do you feel about children?
Yeah.
And you might say to me, no way, no, it's not going to happen. And I hear that and I assume instantly that you have no interest in kids and I want a family. And I go, we're done. It's a sad thing because I really like Natalia. She's so amazing. Like, that's the last thing I wanted to hear.
Right.
Well, if instead of coming to that conclusion and creating that judgment, I turn around and I say, I'm curious. You're really intense about that answer. Why did you say that?
Right.
And I could find out that, you raised 3 sisters or 4 sisters when you were a kid. You had enough of kids, right? Or
Yes.
you can't have children at this
Yes.
stage. You found out in your 20s that you weren't able to have children. And so no way am I going to be able to get pregnant.
Right.
I also might find out that more than anything, you'd love to adopt children,
Right.
right? That you want a family, but your response was about children, right?
Right.
And you immediately said that thinking, I can't have my own. Now, all of a sudden everything changes. I want a family too. If adopting is the way we can do it, to be with you, hell yes, right? But how
Right.
many people take time to even go that much farther when they ask a question, they get a response? Very few.
Very few. It takes a
And
lot of courage. It takes
if
a lot
if
of
if
courage.
everyone we knew that was getting into relationships went into true inquiry when they met someone, I think half the relationship counselors that are out there helping us fix a broken relationship would be out of business.
Yes.
And
Yes.
or better than anything, the ones that are really good would be there to help us as coaches when things do come up, right?
Right. So you mentioned the kids question, which is a great question. And I have 2 questions for you. And I don't know. I'll ask you. One is, when is a good moment to bring up these questions on dating? It's okay on the first date, on the second date. You probably don't have a timeline, but I'm going to throw the question to you. And the second one is, could you please share a couple of questions, even if it's 1 or 2 questions that you think are like fundamental to ask?
Wow. Well, there's a lot of questions that are fundamental. Just how do you deal with conflict
Right.
is a great question, right? Like if you are feeling, how do you handle it when someone has a really strong opinion and they're forcing you for an answer?
Right.
Knowing how someone does that tells you a lot about what would happen when the two of you have a conflict.
Right.
Right? So it's not necessarily, you're not saying, how would you deal with conflict with me? You're just asking in general, right?
Right.
So the questions have to do with intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another discipline in our book called Courageous Intimacy. And courageous intimacy is
I
about,
can't wait to get your book.
excuse me, yes.
Can't
Well,
wait
absolutely. The answers are all in the book, right? That's a
Okay,
lot for
get
me
the
to
book.
say, but think about intimacy. Intimacy has different levels. And psychologists have actually named them. They give them different levels, all the way from the first one, which is just a handshake and a look, and maybe not even a look in the eye, but you actually shook hands. So that's intimate at the lowest level. That's like level one, right? And then it gets up to the point where you really will engage with someone. And finally, at the highest level is when you're truly vulnerable, when you're willing to let yourself be seen, even with all your flaws.
Mm,
Right? In fact, you're almost excited for your partner to know all your flaws because you want to be completely expressed and you want to know that they care for you and desire you for who and what you are.
mm,
Right? So that's the highest level of intimacy. The courageous part is being willing to discover that perhaps you were wrong about something and know that there's an opportunity for growth and change there. So back to your question about when do you start asking what questions when you're on a date, we have to figure out at what level of intimacy you are. If you're at handshake stage, you're not going to be asking questions about tell me about the traumas you had in your life,
right.
right?
That's a
It's
great
just
answer.
too much information at that point in time.
Yeah.
So take your time, build up those levels of intimacy until you're really comfortable asking questions that are truly important to you. Now,
Right.
if you're at the stage in your relationship where you're saying, you know what, I've dated a lot of people. And in fact, I've been dating 3 different people for the last year. And now I don't want to date anybody else. I just, my mind, I'm ready. I am 100% committed. I don't know if we're going to be the final, if this is the perfect relationship, but I want to find out, right? And I don't want to find out with anybody else. I want to find out with you. That's the place that you can go in and now start asking pretty much any question you like because
Right.
the commitment's there, right?
Right.
So in
Right.
fact, our book, Lasting, is probably will even say on the cover, not for singles,
Oh, yes?
because the book is designed for people that are in partnership. And
Okay.
partnership could be a new commitment. It's
Okay.
designed to do together.
Okay.
That the questions, there's 2 parts to the book. The first is all these disciplines that are really yummy and delicious and quite honestly life changing. And then come all the questions. So we're asking the people that will have the book at hand not to read ahead on those questions.
Mm.
Because what do people do? I'm going to read this question. I'm going to make sure I have the right answer. Yeah. In fact, I want to make sure I've given it some thought because I may the question might ask me something that I don't know the answer to,
Right.
which quite frankly, that's exciting. When 2 people have a question in front of them and neither of them ever heard that question before, and they both go, oh God, I don't really know. And they're invited now to talk about it, even what they don't know. And that in itself is something that you can learn about your potential partner. How well will they take information in that's not already figured out?
Right.
Like a lot of men and women these days don't want to say anything until they got it figured out. Like, I don't want to deal with it because I'm processing this. When I'm done processing, we can talk. By the way, processing is something you do with food, right? We don't process. Whoever said I'm processing something, I don't know where it came from. I probably should research that. Sorry, you process food. You
So what is the right
discover,
all this time?
we discover about ourselves. We learn about ourselves. I'm looking for some insight, something else other than processing, please.
Okay.
You know?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, no. So, but the point is, you could even say, well, I just need to spend time with myself and get clarity about this before I can talk about it. It could be a very sensitive subject. It could
Mm.
be something that has to do with a trauma that's unresolved that someone's working on. and they want that. They feel better if that work, if they can get through that work. And the partner, there's that changes the level of intimacy a little bit. But the person that says, I honor that, I respect that, please take your time.
Mm.
I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, that's
When
so
you're
good.
ready, I would love to hear. I want to know everything about you because I
Oh,
want to know how to support you best. I want to know how to show up best for you. And so the more I know, the more I can do that. Right.
that's
And
the
that
best
person,
somebody can say.
that person, by the way, that says that to you, whether it's a male or female, I guarantee you that the time between when they would not talk about it to when they talk about it is about this short. Because if they know that that's sincere, it's like,
Right.
who else would I rather talk to about this
Well, you
other than
feel
my
safe.
therapist?
You feel safe. The biggest fear for somebody like me is that they will run away. So
Right,
if he tells me, "Hey, I'm not gonna go anywhere.
right,
We're gonna figure it
right.
out," to me,
Yeah,
it's like
you feel
it's
safe.
it
You
feels
feel
really
safe.
safe.
And if you're courageous, by the way, you know that the information that you have to share is so important that if that person does run away, thank you. Be grateful that you found out now instead of 15 years later.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
that that you know that the person was not as committed to you as you thought, or that you weren't as aligned in the areas that are really important as are necessary.
Yeah. Wow.
What better time to find that out than at the very beginning of a relationship?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I believe what I am getting for me is that there has to be like an foundation or an underlying of being deeply aligned with abundance. Because sometimes what happens with women is that we get into this state where we think, oh my God, if it's not him, nobody else will show up. Or there is a lot of dating and dating and dating and not really finding somebody that they like. So when they do find somebody they like, that's when it gets really tricky for them because
Mhm.
it's hard for them to ask those questions because
Yeah,
they're
so there's a bit of a scarcity mindset there, right?
right,
It took me a long time to find this person that seems like Mr. Right, and I don't
right,
want to lose Mr. Right.
right.
So here's the challenge. This is just the law of the universe. If you're holding back and your fear is losing them, guess what will happen?
Uh,
You're going to lose them.
yes,
You're going to lose them.
if they're
It's,
not
it's like someone says, I don't want another cheater. I've had cheaters in the past and I don't want another cheater. Guess
right,
what the universe will give you? They'll
cheap,
give you another cheater because that's what you're focused on,
right,
right? So if you want someone that is honest and faithful, ask for what you want, not for what you don't want.
right,
Be careful what you fear because what you fear at the other than conscious level will manifest. It just will.
yes,
You know,
yes,
it's like, I mean, it's this in the simplest form. You're on your bicycle, you're driving down the street, you see a big puddle in front of you, and you're staring at the puddle thinking, I don't want to go through it. I don't want to go, I got to go around it, but you're staring at the puddle. What do you end up doing? You drive right through the puddle, right?
yes,
As opposed, if you want to go around it, look to the area you want to go.
right,
Look there. Let that be your lead. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want.
right,
We'll always get what we focus on. Always. Eventually. Maybe it won't be obvious at one point in time, but eventually you'll be able to look back. You can go, how did that happen to me? And if you could track it back, if you could like rewind, if you could get someone take the chip out of your unconscious mind and plug it in someplace and go, and you could ask like Chat GPT, how did this happen to me? They go, oh, well, yeah, the 13th of November, 1993, you did this. And in 1994, you did this. In 2001, you did this. And, it would just tell you. And you go, I didn't even know. Oh, my God, I did do that. And next thing you know, that you've got a complete chronology that tells you how you got from point A to point B, which now is a disaster.
Right. So, ladies, focus on what you want. Thank you so much,
You want to
Larry.
be curious, right? You just need to be curious. And there are other things that being able to communicate well is critically important.
Right.
And understand how we communicate. And this is, you and I have two different communication styles according to genetic energetics, right?
I know.
So what does that mean? It doesn't mean that we can't communicate.
I'm annoying you.
Exactly. We just have to be aware of it. I love everything about you, including your communication style, right? And it could be challenging sometimes, but is it worth it for the right person?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's always worth it to, I don't know, to adjust to other people. I think it's totally worth it. Yes. So that's, you want to go there because that's the communication is styles is
Anywhere, anything you want to talk about.
I don't want to.
I have no
You have already, Larry. This is one of the best interviews I have ever done, and I have almost 100 under my belt. So,
wow, thank you.
You are amazing. I absolutely love everything you shared. Like everything is like I can take pieces and just use that, and it's like mind blowing. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You want to talk briefly about communication because you shared that with me last week when we met, and it was incredible about communication styles, how women, they can go on a date and they really don't understand each other even if they're speaking the same language. It's not a language barrier, it's more of a style, but you are going to explain it because you are the expert.
Okay. So what we're getting into now is it's part of the chemistry piece that I talked about. So my company, the Institute of Genetic Energetics, has a typology that is identifying the energetic frequencies that we vibrate at. And associated with these different energetics are particular behaviors, what we call lifestyle traits. And we look at communication, we look at what we call activity level, the speed we process information, how we run our lives. We look at our relationship to money. We look at how we sexually engage. This is a huge one. We look at chemistry and a number of other things like modifiers, of which you have two very powerful ones, right? We
Yes.
talked about that.
Yes, I love my results. Ladies, you need to go to his website and do it. It's amazing.
We're giving them that as a free gift, an ability to do that, right?
The link's going to be below.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have a link also that you'll be able to get one of the first copies of Lasting when it comes.
Yes,
so
yes.
Fun. All right, so we all know that communication is important because when we're not communicating well, quite frankly, it just sucks. It's like it's challenging, it's hard, it's depressing, it's aggravating. I mean, give it every kind of emotional thing that you could heap on top of just not being able to connect with someone in our communication. It's there. So here's the deal. Here's the dealio. There are two different kinds of communication styles. One's called structural. That's me. You're listening to me. I'm picking my words to mean exactly what I want to say. And when Natalia asks me a question, I'm listening and I'm going, she's asking me this. This is what she wants. Now, I might not be right, but that's what I'm listening for. I'm listening for the words to tell me exactly. Okay. And I may pause. I could be talking really quick, all of a sudden pause and you're going to go, did we lose the connection? What happened here? Right. And it's me going, I want to make sure I pick the right word because
Mm,
I don't want to be misunderstood. And I don't want you to not hear what's important for me to express. Okay.
right.
So that's structural. The other form is called figurative. And look at you, you're laughing already. The figurative talking style person, it's not that words aren't important to them, but what's way more important is a conveyance of emotions,
Yes.
right? They
Right.
want to
So, Madonna,
feel.
express yourself.
Exactly. They want to feel. They want to feel. And in fact, if they don't feel an emotion from what's coming out of my mouth, they'll write one in because there's no way my mouth would be moving without there being some emotion. It's like there's all these words,
Yeah.
and I'm just going to, based on what I'm seeing and a couple words I picked up, he must mean this. Good chance we're going to have a misunderstanding, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now, how do you resolve that? Well, for me, and I think I might have said to you when we were talking, I could just turn around and go, Natalia, it's really important that we start on time. And for me, I can't tell you like how much it means to me to know that if we do that, I feel respected and everything is going to be really great. Okay. Very monotone, right? And all those words, it's like I heard them. I know what some of those words are, but I don't even know if I'm supposed to pay attention to them because there was no emotion, right? Where if
Right.
instead I go, listen, it's important to me that we start on time because if we're not, I feel so totally disrespected, right?
Right.
And
Totally.
now you got like, and I don't have to be mad, but I'm just sharing this is the way it feels to me, right? And
That's
in
for
that
me.
moment, you hear everything, right? You
Yes.
hear everything.
Yes.
And you go, wow, thanks for telling me. I'll be sure we start on time and I would never ever make you feel any less than you are. Right?
Right.
I'm going, feels so good. Right.
Yes. Yes.
Now,
Yes.
my easier way to do that is just to say it the way I said it the first time. If I'm
Mm.
talking to another structural talking style person, they'll hear me. They'll get it because they're using words the same way I do. If
They
I
are usually more structural men than women.
no,
No. Okay.
no, and this is important. So there are a lot of beliefs out there that men are this and women are this.
Right.
Men source their sexuality when they get turned on,
Right.
and that's all they need. And then maybe their head and their heart comes later. That's not true for half the male population. Half
Right.
of us, half of us source our desire for sex and connection from our head and our heart.
Right.
Now, there's a ton of experts out there who would say, well, you're broken. That's not right. It's energetically, it's 100% accurate. And half the women that supposedly source their head and their heart,
Right.
for them, the byline is when they're hot, they're hot. I want you
Right.
now. And,
Right.
I like the romance. I like all that other stuff. All those things are really delicious and wonderful and great. And yes, you can heat them on me, but I don't need any of it. When I want you. And
Right.
that's now. Right.
Okay.
So that's half the women. And now all the experts out there would say that's a male trait.
Mm.
Women don't do that. Only men do that. It's not true.
Right. It's
So
so
is it
important.
important to know what you are?
Yeah.
Well, we all know what we are, and it's good to find out what our partner is because literally when that mismatch, when sexual differences are off in that area, that's one of the most difficult ones to overcome. It
Yes.
can be done, but it takes some work. It
Right.
takes some investment in time. It takes understanding how to move energy, how to connect, how to take that kundalini energy that's held inside and get it to move. That's critical. And there's a lot more to it than just that, but that's, those are pieces. So back to communication style, Natalia, if you and I are, let's say we decide this is so much fun that we want to do some projects together. We
Yes.
want to do the next summit together. Okay.
That's great.
Right. So let's partner up for that. I already know
Okay.
you're married, so that's out. Right. So we'll just go for a business arrangement.
Right.
And so we decide to do that, and now we need to be aware of how we communicate, because in the process of getting from the idea of let's do it to the point of where we're actually executing it,
Right.
there's chances we could have all kinds of different misunderstandings.
For sure.
And there's absolute certainty we'll probably have disagreements. But here's the deal. Disagreements are something that we can all deal with. Misunderstandings are impossible to deal with. If we don't understand what someone said, we can't even identify or get a good idea what to do with it. We don't even know it's really a disagreement.
Right.
So,
Right. That's a very
so
good.
for us,
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
knowing your figurative talking style and you knowing I'm structural, there's things that we can do all the time. I
Yeah.
know that it's really a good idea when something's important to me to emote, gush, just get a little, emotions out, which is good for me to do anyhow. It's nice. It's a good exercise. A friend of mine calls it gushing. I love that. When I first heard that word, I went, what is that? Gush. Is that like something that comes out of something you squeeze? What is that?
Right.
and then, but then when I realized it was just having all your emotions, just express them, I'm going, oh, I like that. I think I'm going to practice that a little. So, is that my genetic makeup? No, but can I accommodate? Can I shift a little because you're that important?
Right.
Hell yes, right? And
Yeah.
would I like it? Is it easier for me to just be what I genetically am? Of course it is. It's just that that's not the way the world goes. We have lots of people that show up in our lives that are not exactly like us.
Right.
And then we have some people that show up in our lives that are just like us. And it feels like the most incredible thing ever because oftentimes people say, you know what? We must have known each other in past lives. I mean, how could I know you so well? I know you like I've known you forever and before then. Right. And we've all had experiences like that. But when we're identical energetically, it can feel that way.
Yes, for sure. Those are beautiful experiences.
They are. They are.
Wow, I really, really like everything you said, and that distinction between disagreements and misunderstandings. That's
It's huge.
huge. I never heard it that way or at all. I think I never thought about it. But yes, disagreements and misunderstanding. If you don't understand, you don't understand. And I know it really well as English being my second language, that yeah, if they can't understand you, they can't understand you.
Right.
So, but
And with
disagreements are welcome.
communication style, when they're different, I actually tell when I have new clients that come in and they have two different communication styles, I say we're going to start with language class. Okay,
Good.
what do you mean? We both speak English or we both speak French, whatever it is. We're
Right,
still having a language class because
right.
what you're doing right now is you're expecting the other person to speak your language. And I think when we talked, it's like,
Yeah.
if you live in France and I live in Germany, and then I go to visit you in France and I expect everybody to speak German or understand me, is that like real? Is that that's not going to work, right? And if you come to France, to Germany, you expect everybody to speak French,
Yeah.
and
Good luck with
it's
that.
not going to work. But if we are in relationship with each other and we have family in France and family in Germany and we like to go back and forth, I guarantee you we're going to learn both languages, both
Yeah.
of us, right? Or we have an agreement that one's always the translator, right? But
Right.
that's a lot of extra work. Learn the language. So
Yeah.
we need to learn each other's languages. We need to be aware of them, not just for our beloveds, but for our friends, for our brothers and sisters, for our parents, for our kids, for the people we work with, all
Yeah.
of these things. To be aware of those differences changes everything, literally everything,
That's
almost
beautiful.
instantly.
And Larry, so your free gift for the ladies is related to this. Do you mind sharing it with them?
The
The free gift, isn't it the
Oh yeah, the free gift, absolutely. So it's called a personal energetic profile. And the personal energetic profile is going to tell you what your 4 lifestyle traits are. That was communication and activity level and our relationship to money and sexual response. It's going to tell you what kind of chemistry, who you're going to have chemistry with and why, when. And then it's going, there are what we call 6 modifiers, which are personality characteristics that
It's
are in there. And you get all that information, and it's not a long test. In fact, you guys are kind of going to go, what? When you hear how you get it.
it's
You need
so
2
accurate.
pieces of information, just 2. Your birth date, so don't lie. You got to tell your real birth date. It's so funny to me when I ask someone their birth date and they go, "You're not supposed to ask that question."
That's me.
That's you. It was so funny. But then you told me, right?
Why, of
And
course.
I'm not
With
telling
that
anyone
smile,
else.
can you ever?
It's like it's sealed inside. I'm not,
Okay. Well,
right? But so no one sees the birth date when your report is printed. So you don't have to worry about that. We can seal that. So it's
okay.
going to ask for your birth date, but it's also going to ask for the birth date of your opposite gender biological parent. So women, this is your father, your biological father. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. It's only computing the chemistry part of the report.
Yes.
So what we found over the last 20 plus years is that sometimes up to 15-20% of people don't have that information. Either
I
they're,
have
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's sometimes it's hard to find, or there are people who grew up in the Far East where everybody's birthday is on January,
They're all
right?
Capricorns.
Yeah. So that if you don't have it, it's okay. We can actually tell, or you'll be able to tell when you really understand chemistry, whether you have false or true or false attractions. Like if you constantly find yourself falling head over heels for someone who turns out to be really difficult to communicate with, there's constant misunderstandings,
Mm,
you probably have false attractions.
okay.
It's kind of how
Wow.
that works.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
you're going to get this report, and it's from us.
Totally free.
If
So
you have
please, ladies,
questions,
grab it. It takes 1 second to do it really fast,
yeah,
and it's going to give you very, very, very valuable information.
it's
And also, we are going to place the link for your book.
yes.
And do you have any way that if somebody wants to work with you, are you doing private coaching, group coaching?
I
Do you?
do. I work with singles, and I work with a lot of couples all over the planet, and
Oh, that's
it's
great.
really exciting. So, and I guarantee you'll get a language class, but it's fun. You'll love it.
It's a lot of fun.
So it's lots of fun. Yeah, you can reach me at larrym@the4answers.com. Even when you get your report, just you can send a message back, respond to that, and say, "How do I talk to Larry?" That will get to me, and we'll communicate.
Oh,
There,
awesome. That's
there's
so
also there's other reports in our system. There's a romance report that, so if you're in a relationship and you want to look at what it's like with you and your beloved, this report is anywhere from 38 to 93 pages long. It is intensive. It is very, very thorough. You kind of want to hope you don't get the 93-page long report. That's super complicated, but very few do. But what it does is it takes both people and puts both profiles side by side, and then goes through them and gives you understanding and suggestions on how to navigate the differences as well as embrace the similarities.
Oh, wow. Wow, Larry, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Wow. For how long have you been doing this?
For me, it's going on 18 years.
Wow.
Genetic Energetics is a name I gave the company. It was originally years and years ago. It had a different name. When I was first introduced to it, was called Match Matrix. It was designed to be a dating product
Okay.
to ideally help you find your perfect match.
Okay.
And I spent 2 years really trying to break the system to make sure that it was authentic, that it had efficacy. And in that time, I interviewed over 1,000 couples, and
Oh,
and it was never wrong. And so I got involved. But what I also discovered is that looking for that perfect match, although that's glorious and wonderful, also has its challenges, and it's not real. It's not what's happening in the world. People have folks show up in our life for a number of reasons, and what we really need to be able to do is discover why. to
Mm,
discover the gift and why someone shows up. And some of those reasons become a relationship. And we could be very different energetically, but very, very connected in terms of our mission and our values, how we want to do life, what we really are passionate about. Those
mm,
things are like they're unmeasurable in
mm.
value. Right? So if you have someone like that that shows up in your life, and you're different energetically, should you like say, I'm sorry, we're different, so we can't do this? No, no, that's not what you do.
Oh my God.
You learn how to navigate it. You learn how to speak the different languages. You're from
So
Germany and France.
I,
Figure it out, right? Because that person is that important.
right,
And then take the time to really get to know them.
right.
Right? Because when you really get to know someone, you don't have to deal with calamity and huge crisis at a later time in your life. There's people out there that will say relationships are hard work. That's nonsense. Relationships are not hard work. Our personal work is our hard work.
Right.
Our personal work is our hard work. Whatever traumas, whatever things that we've gone through, and look at, we're messy humans. We go through lots of stuff, and there's lots of work to do. That's the hard work. When we both done the hard work, the
Yeah.
other things that show up in our relationship are not hard. They just flow. It
I-
might look like a roller coaster, but you're enjoying the ride instead of scared shitless,
Right.
right? Or wanting to get off. You
Right.
stay on it, and you stay with this person you're committed to because you've done your personal work, because you know why you're there, because you have a relationship that's co-creative. And when there's co-creation, it has the ability to last and last and last.
Amen. That's beautiful. I cannot agree more with you. It's so true. It's so beautiful what you said. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been a pleasure. And I know you are so busy and you made time to help this audience, and they are going to enjoy it. They are going to take advantage of the free gift, I hope.
Oh,
And
for
I'm
sure.
sure
Do
they will. And well, you're a gem. I'm so glad we met. You are a very, very unique man in a good way.
Thank you. Maybe we'll do a summit together. Who knows?
Okay, who knows? But finish your book first.
Absolutely on that one.
One thing at a time.
Right. And thank you, by the way, for the people that you've brought together for this summit.
Oh,
It's there's lots of people that do summits, and I haven't found hardly one yet that wasn't that the people putting it on didn't put so much work into it. And that process, though, of finding who's the speaker that really matches what you want to share with your audience,
yes.
that's special. And I knew immediately when we first talked that I wanted to make sure that I, turned you on to the best people I could find for you,
Thank
because
you.
your approach is beautiful, and your care and your
Mm.
desire and concern to really support and help is so beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. You're gonna make me cry.
Go to town.